I'm going to start this video off with something I usually don't have to do, a disclaimer. This is not a video about Brie Larson. This is a video about the movie Captain Marvel, starring Brie Larson. What she does in her personal life or her own personal opinion is none of my business, and quite frankly, none of yours either. This is a video that will examine a storytelling element used in the 2019 superhero film Captain Marvel, and discuss how it can be expanded for the future. So if I see any comments below about how much you hate Brie Larson or how this movie is designed to attack your fragile cis male egos, do me a favor and kindly redirect yourself to some of the worst content imaginable covering those subjects. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, welcome to Stories as Lessons. Captain Marvel released way back in March, and now that it's out on digital, I want to take a look at what the film was really trying to say. There's been mountains and mountains of discussion of memes, shitposts, and everything in between online, but you know that's not our style here on this show. Stories at their core are always about something, and I'm not just talking about a sci-fi movie about a woman with alien-infused powers who fights a bunch of bad guys in the 90s and rocks out to Garbage and No Doubt. From all the discussion I've seen regarding Captain Marvel, I've seen very little discussion about what the movie is actually about. What is it trying to say? How well does it do this? And how can its central theme be improved on for the future? In addition to this video, I would highly recommend you take a look at KM Weiland's Part 9 blog post regarding theme in Marvel movies, which I've linked below. We're going to be using a part of this thesis to help us understand what Captain Marvel is all about. In the post, KM Weiland states, "Theme is what a story is about. More than that, however, theme is why a story matters." There's a lot of takes online that writing with theme in mind is just another way of forcing a message down an audience's throat, and this is only true, I think, when the writer does not know what they're doing. I'll give you a quick example to illustrate what I mean. Take a movie like Spider-Man 2, one of the great superhero movies. Its central theme, I believe, is dreams, and the movie is designed to show how each character responds to this, which it does in a few different ways. Peter dreams of having a normal life, but is blocked by his responsibility of being Spider-Man. Mary Jane dreams of becoming a big actress, but can't even get her best friend to show up to her play, perhaps even reminding her of her unsupportive father. Harry is haunted more so by a nightmare of his father's death, which draws a line between him and Peter's friendship. And the main antagonist of that movie, Dr. Octopus, is completely driven by his dream to provide the world with sustainable energy, no matter what the cost. Aunt May gives a speech halfway through that movie in which she states that sometimes to do what is right, we must give up the thing we want the most, and that includes our dreams. Peter uses this later to save Doc Ock and help him realize how much his dream will create more harm than good, and in the end, Peter realizes that giving up being Spider-Man won't solve his problems, and now that Mary Jane knows the truth, things will get a little bit better. So, taking this lesson, what's the central theme of Captain Marvel? And now I knew from the minute I left the theater, this was a story about oppression. I honestly found this quite surprising for a movie from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as I was expecting no more than just a fun, pulpy 90s sci-fi ride. But what I got of the central theme in this story took it above several levels for me. Now, it's not executed quite perfectly, as we'll come to discuss, but I gotta give it props for saying what it did. In KM Weiland's post, she talks about a thing called the Thematic Principle, which is designed in a story to be a general truth, virtue, or evil that's usually summed up into one word. We've already stated before that Captain Marvel's Thematic Principle is oppression. But there's more to it than just slapping a word across the screen and writing a script. To really make a thematic principle work, you have to ask yourself two things. How do you build your theme out of your characters? In Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers is oppressed right from the beginning. She's constantly undermined and controlled by Jude Law's character Yon-Rogg, who we later discover is the real antagonist. But she's not the only one. For a majority of the movie, we are led to believe that the alien race known as the Skrulls are the main threat, until we later find out that they are being oppressed by the Kree as well, and are more than just big green aliens, but people with families who just really want a home. To really sell this, the theme of the story has to be driven by your characters, so let's look at a few ways Captain Marvel does this. In the beginning, Carol follows orders and sees the Supreme Intelligence as her former mentor, Marvell, and all of her actions are driven in the beginning by following Yon-Rog's orders, which is one element of her character, but we also see that Carol is snarky, rebellious, and haunted by memories of a past she doesn't remember after Skrull experimentation unlocks them. Whilst her plot desire may be to find the Skrulls in the beginning, her character desire is to find herself, which can be difficult in real life when you're experiencing oppression. This is later rectified in the finale of the film when we discover the reason Carol's powers aren't as strong as they could be is because Yon-Rog has intentionally been holding her back, both mentally through his intimidation techniques forcing Carol to doubt herself, and physically through suppressing the true potential of her powers. This is a good way of showing the theme via action of the characters. Yon-Rog claims that he wants Carol as the best version of herself, which is a dangerous claim both in the theme of the film and in the greater sociological aspects of that theme. Yon-Rog can't possibly develop her into the best version because he does not see life or even Carol in the same context that she does, seen by how he views other races like the Skrulls as inferior and his disguised undermining of her abilities constantly. This is a good way of showing how the hero and villain are at odds with one another with the same goal thematically, and many oppressed communities also feel this. They're made to feel like they cannot be the best versions of themselves without those in higher power dimming them down. And if you don't believe me on that, just look at the straight pride parade flags and the multiple requests for White History Month made by ignorant bigots who think they're above everybody else. Just like Yon-Rog. The Skrulls, on the other hand, I took as a representation as to how many Islamic people and people of color would feel in a world dominated by white European and American men. Their lives are shown as constantly having to fight misinterpreted images of who they really are, and seeing them get their happy ending in this film and to be seen as more nuanced in a film about war was quite well done. Not perfect, but I think well done. I do think this could be explored further with other characters, but we'll get to that later. Carol's journey allows her to see multiple different viewpoints of a war, and puts her on the path of making the choice to help protect the Skrulls and Earth from the Kree, whom she's now realized are the true antagonists. So she doesn't even need a big climactic battle to prove herself better than Yon-Rog.
Moment, Beers. Turn off the light show and prove to me you can beat me without...
Whilst this moment could be viewed as silly, I actually took it as Carol showing that she doesn't even need to fight him, because she no longer desires his approval. And she's already achieved her character goal, which is to find out herself, and in this case, the true best version of herself. This shows the resolution of the theme of oppression via character. Now, here's the part of the video I was dreading about. There are a few elements in the story I think could have been more explored to show this theme of oppression, and here's where we'll talk about the queerbaiting in the room. In Carol's memories, we see that she has a close friendship with her fellow pilot, Maria Rambeau, who even helping her raise her daughter Monica, who we know also becomes a superhero in the comics. Maria is a black woman raising a single daughter, and we see how much Carol leaving and being presumed deceased affected her, even though they're doing pretty okay for themselves. But what I ultimately read this as was a queer relationship in subtext. Now, after a lot of thought on this, I've decided that subtext isn't a worthy portrayal of LGBTQ characters anymore. And here's why in this specific case. Later on, when the Skrulls are revealed to not be all evil, we see a mother and a child Skrull. And we as the audience immediately knew that was Talos' family. So why could that not be the same case between Maria, Monica, and Carol? If we can see an alien family, I see no reason why we can't see a same-sex one. This is one of the elements of the movie that frustrated me because Marvel is quite known for their emotional impacts, at least when they're executed well and not undertaken by a dumb joke. But in the 90s, could you imagine how emotionally powerful a scene where Maria states that she couldn't mourn Carol truthfully would be, because she could have even lost her job in the Air Force if they found out there was anything more than friendship just going on? The movie not even giving Carol a male love interest plays right into this, and it's something that, whilst I don't think it ruins the movie completely, it's a real missed opportunity for Marvel considering they plan to introduce an LGBTQ lead in the Eternals. It's things like this that don't give me much hope. If you want more on that in the movie, go and check out Rowan Ellis's video. She explains it much better than I can in her own weird way, but I felt it was important to mention here. So there you go. Captain Marvel is about oppression. It uses a thematic principle to tell a pretty fun comic book adventure, and it shows this through its characters and the driving force behind the plot and action. It's a lot more than just a powerful hero taking out spaceships without struggle, because the struggle is there. It's just internal. Struggles don't always have to be external like in most comic book stories. In fact, the most poignant ones will always be internal. Overall, I enjoyed Captain Marvel for what it was, and appreciated a lot about what it had to say. My only issue is the moments where I feel it could have done more. Instead of a lame subplot about an alien cat or jokes about the Skrulls enjoying milkshakes or whatever the hell that is, we could have seen this great theme of oppression taken even further. That's my only criticism. Other than that, I think the movie's fun, and I'll see a sequel if it inevitably gets made. But to the creators of this movie and to Brie Larson, I think you guys have got a really good thing going on here. But I know you guys can and probably want to do more. We're almost in a new decade, and if the central theme of the Captain Marvel film series is going to be about overcoming oppression, I don't think it's enough to just imply it for other marginalized communities. Show it. Create great stories out of it, because I think that would be extremely empowering to marginalized groups watching your movie. There's rumors of Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel joining in on the fun, which I think would be a great way to continue this theme by showing the struggle of an American and Pakistani Muslim teenager in this context, and still having her become a hero. It could be like Spider-Man Homecoming in a sense. Monica Rambeau could even grow up to be a hero like her aunt, and we see more of that and what it entails. Honestly, check out the Miss Marvel comics, they're really fun. My biggest issue with Marvel when they want to do these things is it always feels like they're holding back. It feels like they want to dip their toe in the water instead of diving into the deep end head on. When their biggest LGBTQ representation was 1 minute of the director mentioning he had a date with a guy in Avengers Endgame, and they completely missed the chance to create a nuanced queer experience in the movie prior to that, it doesn't give me a lot of hope that they'll create a solid LGBTQ lead in the Eternals when that comes around. Marvel Studios, please prove me wrong. Hey guys, thanks so much for checking this out, and if you stuck towards the ending, thank you. It always frustrates me that conversations around movies like this are dominated by stuff that's completely meaningless, so thanks for sticking around. If you want to take a look at these points further, I've linked Rowan Ellis's video, KM Weiland's blog post, and a really great Medium article by Jonathan McMillan and talking more about the themes of oppression in this movie. They were a great help in crafting what I wanted to say, and as always, if you want to continue to support this channel, please go check me out on Patreon, and if you like this, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.